ladies, it's been yay. Because I take her intro line, but you got to have the intro line this time, so that's why you're very happy. I know it.
Thank you.
I see
No, I'm
that's
actually
what it
pretty
is.
excited about our new little setup in the back of the store.
Yes, we do have our own little new
tiny
studio.
studio.
It's
in
very
the back.
tiny, but it fits the budget.
Yeah.
But it also fits the store that we don't have to break things down
Exactly.
and put things back together over and over and over again.
Yeah,
so we're happy about that.
Helpful. So
definitely.
yes, awesome. Alrighty, so I am so excited about today. I'm excited to interact with you. So is Corey. We can't wait for you guys to throw some questions at us, but we're really excited about taking some quilt tops, showing you some fun designs that you can put on them, whether it's edge to edge, custom, things like that. We just kind of pulled 7 or 8 quilt tops out of the air, out of Corey's closet.
Them out of the air. We pulled them out of the closet because I have so many of them, but it's fine.
Yeah,
it's because they're going to get quilted eventually.
Exactly.
Y'all know about that. I have a lot of unfinished stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, it's just kind of, we thought it'd be awesome to kind of give you some ideas. We always get calls, whether they're calls or emails asking us, how would you design this? What kind of pattern would you put on this?
Not only calls, bringing in quilt tops in here to the store.
That's true.
All the time, after we're done picking out backings and thread and batting, after we go through that process, it's then, okay, so what are we going to quilt? That's another 3-hour process right there. What are we going to quilt? So it's just figuring out exactly what it's going to be to get that done, and I can't wait to be able to take this journey with you so y'all can have a look into my creative mind and then along with Diana's creative mind as well.
Thank you for a little bit of credit there.
Smidge and a half. Half credit.
Well, you do like half my DNA.
Half of your DNA, so half credit. There you go.
Anyway, so we're, again, super excited. So, like always, before we get started, don't forget to
subscribe to our channel. So it's going to be right down there at the bottom right-hand corner. After you click on that subscribe button, make sure you click on the little bell that shows up so you can get notified whenever we post new videos or whenever we go live here at After Hours.
Yay. Okay.
There's that yay again.
I know. Well, I am super excited.
I'm going to look for a yay is what I'm about to do.
You're going to look for a yay?
For a yay in
your little closet over there?
My thread cabinet. I love it. That can get me in trouble.
I know, it sure can. Okay. So I always like to have a question to while we're waiting on people to get on.
Mm-hmm.
So our question today is, how many of you have a quilt top that you haven't quite figured out like what design you want to put on it? It's just kind of hidden in that area. You're like, I don't know what to do. I want to do custom, but then gosh, it's so much easier to do edge to edge. But I kind of still want to do custom. Let us know. Tell us about it. And that's why we're here today. So that's another fun way to kind of get started on that, right?
Yes, definitely.
Alrighty. You will want to stay tuned to the end of this because we are going to do a free giveaway today.
Yes, we are bringing back our giveaways.
Yes.
I'm super excited about that. We've been trying to figure out the exact way to do it.
Yeah.
Here on YouTube, it's a little bit different and a little bit more difficult to, it's for your security, collect information, basically. But we can't reach directly out to you through your YouTube profile or anything like that. So we have finally figured out a way. I don't know who we is, but we finally figured out a way. Yes. Figured out a way that we can take back those giveaways and give you some free products because I know if you're anything like me or anything like Diana, we love a free product.
We sure do.
Especially when it can benefit you in your quilting journey or your crafting journey or whatever we're talking about with at that time, from cones of thread to patterns to batting packages to all sorts of things. And I'm throwing things out there that she probably hasn't thought about yet. So she's giving me that look like, okay, stop. I don't even know if I want to give that away yet. So we're super excited to bring that back.
Yes, we are. And we already have lots of feed coming in. We're excited. We've already got, Robin has a question already about a leaf design and border. So you know what, we're going to go through a bunch of quilts, and at the end, we'll be able to answer a lot of questions too, like if you have a design. And we'll do the best we can without having a picture of it.
Yeah, that's when it gets a little difficult.
Yeah, we're like,
we'll figure it out.
So welcome everyone from all over. So yay, keep them coming, keep the comments coming. But while they are coming, we are going to get started. Okay. So Corey, let's start with quilt number 1.
Okay. So we're starting computer first?
Let's start computer and show the different designs.
Then we'll go to freehand.
And what we mean by computers is just so we can show you how you can do it if you have edge to edge.
We're not trying to alienate anybody.
Exactly. So it's hand guided and computer guided. Everything we're going to show you for each top you can use as if you're a hand guider, and we're going to give you the pattern we used, or if you're a computerized quilter as well. So this is for both of you.
Definitely.
Alrighty, so first one we have.
Okay, so here on the computer, the first thing we're going to take a look at is this deer panel. And this is the panel, or deer, I'm sorry, elk. I know I just got red for filth by people that live up north. This elk panel, and we've had this for a minute and a half. Had this for a minute. Hello?
Yeah, for quite a while.
Yeah, okay, there she is. We've had this for quite a while. So taking a look at this and looking at how we can achieve this with more of a edge-to-edge design, or if we want to go into more of a custom thing.
Yeah.
So we kind of picked out two patterns that would look pretty cool on this edge-to-edge. The first one is...
It's called Wilderness Without the Deer.
Yeah, Wilderness, no
without
deer.
The deer. And this is a pattern that we put on... what was the quilt?
Your Whispering Pines
My
quilt.
Whispering Pines quilt. And so we had Linda and Rick take the deer out because I didn't want the deer on it for that pattern, and they created a new one. So this is a pattern by Linda Taylor, and it's on her website, Fancybluefox.com. So any of her edge-to-edge patterns will be there, and we'll have descriptions in the video at the end with all the different patterns that we used as well. So don't feel like you have to write it all down.
Correct. So I went with this one just by kind of trying to give you the idea and the method behind this. And I want you to think about this as, of course, you could stitch it with black thread. It would be very bold.
Yeah.
But this is the only color I can get these patterns inside of the software that I'm using. But I just wanted you to see the line drawings. But looking at this, the way these trees mimic the trees here in the background.
Yeah.
The way this stream from the mountain up here mimics not only these mountains, but down here in the stream that the elk are in, it's mimicking the stream, the flow of that water.
Yeah.
The movement up here, which is supposed to be clouds, but the way it's hitting this water, it looks like rippling in the water.
Yeah, and especially if you use like a blender thread. Obviously, like you said, black is so we can see it.
Yeah, quite bold.
But
yeah, if you go something
that
that's a little...
with it,
right, definitely.
that'd be really pretty.
Okay. Even on the trees here on this elk, it kind of looks like the elk, are they fur or hair? I'm going to go with fur. No one's helping me out on the set here.
I think it's
okay, I'm going to go with fur. Please, yeah, let me know. Golly, I should have researched that before I start talking about it. But that kind of mimics that same look there. And now this is something that's going to take a little bit more time. It's a little bit more dense.
Yeah.
Another thing with this pattern that we did to give it a different look is it is alternated. So if you have a pantograph pattern, then what I can do here from an alternating standpoint is, let's say if I had a pattern that I was working with, we'll go with this book, for instance. If I have a pattern that I'm working with, you can shift it as you work down the quilt. So this would be your first set, but then when you roll the quilt and you go to the next piece, it would probably be over here. So those designs then kind of do a chevron down the quilt.
Yeah,
and that gives it a nice look.
And I think if you pull the pattern off of the elk, you'll actually see what you're talking about a little easier.
So I was just trying to get the movement with hands there. But if we take it off of the picture so you can actually see it. Oh, I lost some of my patterns. That's okay.
That's okay.
I'll fix it later. But the pattern was first originally designed for all of these trees to be stacked right on top of each other. But you could alternate or do the pattern shuffle, as Linda calls it.
Yeah.
And you can move this pattern around so then these trees are kind of spread throughout the quilt as opposed to sitting all on top of each other.
Exactly. Yeah. So whether you're using the pantograph version of this or the edge-to-edge, you can do that.
Right.
All right, what's the next pattern that you were going to show on there?
So let me move this one out of the way. So the next one is a little bit more of a frilly pattern, a little bit more fun, still taking into account the trees, but I really like some of these. Some of these are new Linda patterns, and they are really, really cool. And I'm sorry, I got to move a little bit out of the way to grab these. But this one is called Fanciful. Is that right?
Yeah, Fanciful Trees.
Fanciful Trees.
Again, it gets available in a pantograph and edge-to-edge, and it's number 216 in the pantograph. But yeah, so let's check this one out.
So with this one, what I'm looking at, let me move these further off to the side here. But with this one, what I'm looking at, if I zoom in, is that these trees still kind of doing the same thing. A lot of movement there, mimicking these trees. They look kind of like Dr. Seuss trees.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of cute there.
Yeah.
Kind of softening the panel. Granted, you'd still use that thread that blends in a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I do like the way that the flow of these patterns, just like on this elk, we're calling it fur, on the fur of the elk here, kind of gives it that hair look, that fur look.
Yeah.
Kind of accentuates the trees here in the background. Looks like trees are sitting on this mountaintop here.
Yeah, and like you said, when you use blending thread, it's going to be perfect. And on this, you don't have to necessarily do the whole Well, let's go ahead and go overhead.
Okay.
Let's talk about a little bit overhead.
Okay.
So I have some ideas for this overhead. I love I am starting to love panels. Let's put it this way. I have always bought panels when I see them, but I haven't quite done anything with them.
Right.
So I kind of have a closet full.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I was looking at this one, and I thought it'd be really fun that if you just wanted to get on the front of the machine and do freehand, like we were saying, you kind of similar. So you can like just do little waves in here, right?
Grab a marker and show them.
Oh,
so
yeah, I forgot that we were on the...
Yeah, we have markers. Couple markers so they can see
Well,
it.
I'm going to use blue for the water.
Sure.
So you can just kind of do waves. Well, I'm not the best freehander when you put me on the spot. But
No, it looks fine. You're getting the ripple of the water. That's what
yeah,
you're
so
doing.
the idea to do that, or if I wanted to go in here and I can, embellish and just do like little grass. Right?
That'd be really cute to kind of give some texture to the grass there. Yeah.
And then over here on his horns, I was thinking you could go up and just go back and forth. That way you're doing a continuous design.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of giving it some texture, right?
Yeah, definitely. If you did like the outline of the horn, even, then it would or the antler, excuse me. Then it would it would kind of pop off the quilt a little bit more.
Yeah.
I thought another thing.
The outline would actually be better. It's hard because these aren't that fine.
Well, yeah,
this
no, they're not
small
super
picture.
fine. This is a tiny picture.
So if you're like wanting to do an outline, that's a better way to describe it.
So kind of doing a faux stitch in the ditch of this because there's not really a ditch line to put that in. So you're kind of following it.
And the same thing with the hair, right? Because you could just kind of go back and forth like this with the hair just to give it some dimension there. And then like trace around the mouth a little bit. I mean, there's so many things you can do to give that the animal dimension on any panel that you're doing that has like a design for you already, right? There's so much dimension you can do. So what would you do?
I would still take the same idea that you were working with here, but what I would do is I would cut out some, I'd get some polyester batting.
Okay.
Along with whatever I'm using in here. I'd get some poly or maybe some wool, but poly just retains its loft a little bit more. And I would actually pick up this panel, and I would, before I quilted all this down, I'd kind of get out cut out the pieces of this elk and stick it under this and do some trapunto work.
Yeah.
Because then it would have this elk sitting off of the quilt a little bit more.
Yeah, that's
kind of
true.
giving it that texture. And for those of you at home, when we talk about trapunto, that more or less means, don't read me in the comments for it, but more or less means that you're putting extra pieces of batting underneath this, or you're doing really dense stitching out here on the outside to make all the batting kind of move into the elk at this instance and pop up. But you can get a piece of polyester batting, maybe like a 12 ounce, a 16 ounce even, something
I would say
puffy.
12 or 16 ounce, yeah.
And it can be underneath this panel. You can do your stitch in the ditch around the elk to lock it down, and then you can come in and do all this fur work. Like Dianna was doing with the lines, and it would really make this elk pop away from its background.
Yeah.
Kind of like portrait mode on our phones, where it kind of blurs out the background. That's more or less what it would be doing. I mean, it's not going to blur it out for you, but more or less it would give you that idea.
Actually, that's a really good idea. So you can do all your simple stuff there, and then make that elk pop out of the picture.
Right.
So
just
that would work.
Remember to do that first
fabric.
before you do. Remember you put the batting under there first before you do all this fancy stuff.
So that would be a really good suggestion on any panel. And another thing you can do is after you do your custom here, you can do very simple right here on the border, right? So it's not taken away.
Yeah.
So whatever kind of simple design you would want to do on the border, whether you wanted to do, like use one of the straight lines or something if you're doing the hand guided, and put little straight lines in there.
Do little piano keys on
like
the outside.
piano keys. That's right. That's what they're called. I should remember that. But
Yeah, you should remember that. You just
but that would actually frame it a little bit more.
Yeah, the piano keys would be really nice if you wanted to get if you have a pantograph or if you have a computerized machine, maybe a pattern that looks like wood. So this could look like an actual frame around this, because when you hang it up, that'd be cute.
Yeah.
You could do the little ribbon candy here, kind of mimic what's going on in the water in the background, different things like that.
Yeah, so everything we're showing, you
Y'all
can definitely.
Get me going all day talking about this stuff.
It can be done freehand or computerized.
Right, just
this
a little bit of a
it
different
probably
check.
a little bit more freehand.
That would be much easier to do
freehand.
freehand.
All right, so what's our next one that we want to show?
Okay, so the next one here on the computer, I actually got this quilt top from where were we at, Tulsa?
Tulsa show.
The Tulsa quilt show years ago.
Yeah.
And they had an kind of like a flea market at the show, which I'd never seen before, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And this quilt top is made completely out of shirts or clothing, not really shirts,
some type
maybe,
of clothing,
but
yeah,
some type of clothing.
Because there's like some khaki pants material in there.
There's pants, some flannel. There's all sorts of different things. Some corduroys.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah.
Good times. But so with that in this quilt, I wanted to be able to show you that sometimes you'll get things like this that you just want to really pull together. You don't want to put a ton of dense quilting on top of this because depending on how it's pieced together, especially with clothing, it could possibly come apart. So you never know what's going to happen with that. So what we're looking at here is I can do a little bit of movement, and I'm going to take this pattern, and this one is, what's it called, Diana?
That pattern is called Easy Puzzle, which is number 90. It's a Linda Taylor pattern.
And I like this one, and it's more of a meaning thing to me. When I look at this one, it's kind of like a different type of meander or a different type of stipple. And what this is doing in my mind, and I'm very about memory things, is all of these clothes, all these pieces of clothing have some type of memory in them.
Yeah,
okay?
that's true.
And so this pattern, as it works around, talks about maybe like the path of life.
Oh,
Kind of
look at you
moves
being
around
in-depth
all
there.
over the place. You kind of go in different circles. You go up, you go down.
Oh, yeah.
And it's connecting all of
back down
that
again.
together. And back down again. And then up and then back down again.
Yeah.
But it's connecting all of that together through this path. This looks like someone's walking through their path of life on all these clothes.
Yeah, that's really cool for like a memory quilt. That's
yeah.
a good idea.
So like when you first, oh no, we don't want to do an update. When you first look at it, you're like, okay, it's very basic. But when you break down that meaning to your customer, that's really going to show a whole different thing, and it's easier for you to quilt. Talk about that.
True.
It's easy to quilt.
All right, let's grab the next pattern. We have lots of good questions here about Trapunto. Now, we had, would you add more she said she'd add more batting to the mountain scenes, which I think is a great idea.
Yes, definitely.
Trim the batting away before, underneath the Trapunto before you do that. And kind of what you're doing, you're just giving it more dimension. So, yeah, you definitely trim the batting where it just needs to fit where you want it to go.
Right.
Alrighty, what's the next one?
So the next one that I brought together was just kind of fun, really open. Another thing that we're looking at in tonight's episode is the amount of looking at what the quilt is saying to you. This quilt has a ton of straight lines.
Yeah.
So when you have a lot of straight lines in the piecing, we've talked about this in previous episodes, but when you have a lot of straight lines in your piecing, like this one is just straight, all straight lines, you want to have a lot of curve, a lot of movement in the design to break up those straight lines.
Yes.
Because otherwise, if you have a straight line pattern that goes straight for a little bit, it might end up falling into the ditch between those seams, and then it's not going to work out for you.
That's true. Very true.
So this one, really fun. This one is called...
This one's called Easy Beginner's Fun.
Easy Beginner's
Which
Fun.
is number 110. And again, this one's from Linda Taylor as well.
This one's super cute. I've used this on a lot of quilts. A lot of movement in this one. Very fun. Kind of talks about, how fun life can be.
Yeah.
As you're moving around throughout all those memories. So that's what I've got
Well,
there.
and again, like I said, it gives you a good idea for memory quilts. Because that's kind of what this is. Even though it's straight line, it's giving you ideas for memory quilts.
Right.
So now if you were to do total, not pantograph and do it freehand, if we go ahead above, what would we do? Maybe just some like straight lines or just meandering, right?
I mean, you could do meandering like what the pantograph was. You could look in, like we have the straight lines book. These are just basically different sections. Maybe if you wanted to highlight certain sections of these, you could come into the straight lines book and pull out some of these different designs and kind of place them in there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And just kind of following through that. This is you could break it down something like this. I don't know if I would go in and do every single thing because it would just take a ton of time. But you definitely have that ability to go in and put something easily within those pieces and kind of move throughout it and kind of create your own pantograph.
Yeah, no, that's super cute. I think that's. I mean, I think you did a really good. That's a good idea though. Just keep it simple. So you can do your little loop-de-doos or your E's. And then come up to a section and do them small. You can almost stair step it if you wanted to,
You
right?
could definitely stair step it up, yeah.
And so then you're just
depending
changing,
on how it's pieced.
Yeah, well, something like this, and then you're just changing the dimension a little bit.
Right, and kind of staying within that section. That could all be done from the front of the machine really fast.
Yeah, really fast and easy. So cool. All right, what's the next one?
All right, next one here is, this is an antique 9-patch. I don't know, for those of you, if you don't know me, I love a good 9-patch. I love a 9-patch. I think it's one of the most simple quilts, but there's so many things you could do with a 9-patch. So first starting off, 9-patch, especially with this one being antique, you definitely want to keep it more in that traditional setting. And having traditional, when you're looking at traditional and old school per se, quote unquote, you're looking at a lot of feathers. And a lot of feathers, not very many shapes going on. in these overall designs.
Okay.
If you're trying to keep it with the era of the fabric.
Mm-hmm.
So in this one, like I said, since it was an antique, I went with something very simple. Gave it good movement, though, and this one is called...
That one is called Simple Feather Meandering, which is number 75. Again, these are all available in Pantograph and Edge to Edge.
Right.
So we're showing you things that you can use in both worlds.
So this one, not being worried about crossing over these piecing lines, gives it good movement. If you plan it out the right way with the right size of Pantograph, you can see how when these feathers come into this 9-patch, it looks like it was built for that specific section.
Mm-hmm.
It's hitting certain parts of that 9-patch, and it looks like you kind of designed it that way.
Yeah, that looks good.
It's all based on size there on that one. So you have that one, and then I've got, and this is one of my all-time favorite patterns. If you don't have if you have a Pantograph or if you have a hand-guided quilting machine, you don't have this pattern, you need this pattern. This one right here, I'm going to grab it right now.
Yeah, this one is called Puddles in the Rain, and this one is by Jackie Brown.
All-time favorite pattern right here.
Yeah.
And it's this because the movement of this design is stunning, and the way it's spaced out, these lines between all these swirls, it eats up fullness like nobody's business.
Yeah, so we have this one in Pantograph. We do not have this in Edge to Edge.
So this one, good movement in this. Kind of looks like the 9-patch is floating around in the quilt, but really, really good movement on this one. And I've used this on a ton of quilts.
It's really pretty.
I love the way it looks. But Puddles in the Rain.
Puddles in the Rain.
Puddles in the Rain.
Well, if you go overhead, why don't you give them some ideas of what you would do freehand?
So if you were wanting to keep it very simple with freehand, I would come in with just a good old continuous curve, continuous arc, depending on however you want to call it. But I would come in with, okay, can't use green. That's not going to work. Switching to red.
So while you're looking at that, we got a good question. They have a sit-down long arm.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way they can pounce a pantograph onto the quilt before they stitch? That might be a little hard.
It would be a little hard because it's going to come off a little bit.
But you could use a chalk pencil to just kind of, you could probably pounce it and then maybe use a chalk pencil.
Well, the thing about that is there's no lines in that pantograph to go through. You would have to put basically, well, there's an idea.
Yeah.
You could do that.
Okay.
Okay.
So you gave us a really good question. We are thinking about it. So
what you could technically do with that, and it would require some work, but if you have the time, you could come in with an X-Acto knife.
Okay.
Okay. Lay that pantograph flat on a surface that you're not worried about if you cut into. So yeah, don't put it like on the. Put it on something. Cut it. Genius. That's why I keep her around. But do little dashed lines.
Yeah.
So cut out little dashed lines in your pantograph following the line of that. Then you could pounce it, pull it right off, and you'd be good to go.
Yeah.
So you have that. It's going to take a little bit more time, but I got to do that. Now
I know.
excited.
Now we're going to try that.
I got to do that. It might be a video.
Yeah.
But you could definitely cut out a little bit
of those lines. Thank you for that idea. So, okay, you can keep going now.
So, back to this. Now, this is like, it's much smaller, so it's going to be kind of hard for me to get the pin in here to do this. But I would come in with maybe just a simple continuous curve in this, trying to just get that nice flow there. So like I said, a little harder to do on a smaller picture. Or you could take out some really amazing ideas from the 9-patch book that we have. And there are tons of different ideas, designs, everything. Don't want to get ink on it.
Yeah.
Ideas, designs, and everything in between to do a 9-patch. And it's just beautiful quilting designs in here that you could choose from. Arrows showing you how to follow it, how to do it.
Yeah, and if you have a 9-patch quilt to do, and you know the pantographs where you don't want to quite do the pantographs, we have a really good video on the 9-patch, right?
Right.
Yeah.
How to kind of pull it off with the freehand aspect of it, or if you want to do like some faux 9-patches and blocks that are empty, there's a 9-patch stencil.
Exactly.
That gives you that stencil, and then you can create a design off of that.
Yeah, so if you don't want to do quite edge to edge yet, I mean, and you're like, you know, I really want to throw more custom feel in there, but I'm not quite sure. Like you said, the 9-patch book with the stencil is an awesome way to go.
Definitely.
All right, what's our next quilt top?
Okay.
This is fun.
It is fun. Next one we're looking at is this Lone Star. This was given to me by a friend. She found it at an antique store. And the one we're looking at here, if we're doing a pantograph all over this, which would hurt me because I love to do custom quilting. But if you're looking to do a pantograph all over, let's first look at the Lone Star itself. let's look at the fullness in the, you see this? The fullness in this antique quilt.
So I see the picture like everybody else does, but I actually saw the pattern and the quilt top in real life, and it is definitely full.
It's got a lot of fullness.
So he's going to give you some really good tips on how to get some fullness out of these tops.
A lot of fullness on this one. So with this one, I would be basting down my top and my sides as I'm rolling the quilt. I'd be basting down the sides, but I want to definitely base down that top to get it straight, and then of course base down my sides with some type of channel lock to make sure the quilt is staying straight. All of this fullness in here can be quilted out. I would not let the fullness scare you by any means, but this can all be quilted out. And so as long as I have that basted down before I start stitching, a trick of mine that I use, and a lot of people might not get it right out of the way because it's kind of an odd thing. Yep. But I actually, and Diana's seen me do this, I have a spray bottle, a spray misting bottle right next to my machine. Yep. And you remember when I did your Mother's Day present? That fullness on that eBay quilt you got? Let's talk about that. But I missed the fabric. I don't saturate it, but I definitely missed it. Be careful with red fabrics. I definitely missed it. That settles the fabric really nice. And when you're quilting, lets it get eaten up. And I'm telling you the magic that just water will do, just misting it. If you have a ton of extra fabric, some spray sizing, I think it's called spray sizing, you can spray it on there and it basically eats up and kind of shrinks the fabric a little bit to size it.
I didn't know that.
It works really well. Wait about 10 minutes after you spray it before you start, but it works really well. So either water, spray sizing, either one.
That helps eat up the fullness.
It does.
Okay. So what pantograph were you thinking about using on that one?
This one right here, first one I went with was my
Your
pantograph reader
behind.
expert.
So this is a Lone Star. So this was Easy Gliding 1313 by Jackie Brown. Another one from Jackie Brown.
From Jackie Brown. This one had a lot of movement in it, especially with Lone Star, a lot of straight line piecing in that. I wanted to kind of stray away from a straight line design, but a lot of movement in this one, but you can just kind of start to get the idea. Isn't that cute?
It really is.
Isn't that cute?
It really is.
I love it.
So if you were going to put a pantograph on, like a Lone Star or custom quilt, it's fun. You want to find something that kind of complements it, right?
Complements it, gives it movement, but I don't know about y'all watching at home, but if you kind of let your eye settle for a second, with the way the swirls are in this design, it looks like those pieces of that Lone Star. I'm pointing at the screen like they can see what's going on. It looks like the pieces of that Lone Star are actually moving. They're kind of floating and going to the next section. You're really having to look and see where things are at.
Yeah, that's a good. So Easy Gliding, that's a good pattern. What was the other pattern? You had one, I think, called Fireworks?
I had another one, and you were on the fence about this, but I'm very happy with it.
Well, I just wasn't. I didn't see it all the way on there yet. So.
Well, you weren't expecting it either.
I wasn't expecting it.
This is something I normally throw things way out of the box.
So this is pattern 133. It's called Fireworks, and this one is from Linda Taylor.
Yeah, so this one I went with because I wanted to think of this Lone Star kind of exploding out, the kind of bouncing of this, and that's exactly what Fireworks does. This is one of my favorite designs. This was one of the first things I ever quilted computerized.
Yeah.
Was Fireworks. I did it for my grandma's quilt. I was very brave, especially first thing that I could ever stitch. But what this is going to do is it's really going to accent that Lone Star. Now, granted, y'all remember I can't change the color of this line, so don't dock me for having black thread on this. Yeah. But if you went with like a nice brown taupe variegated on this, my gosh,
pretty.
That thing would move, and you could think the back of it would be a gorgeous whole cloth.
Oh yeah.
Even I mean, it's just stunning.
So Fireworks.
Fireworks, and you see how I'm pointing again at the screen, like y'all can see, but like I'm kind of moving into this triangle. You see how these things kind of accentuate inside this triangle. They kind of make it look like this section right here was built to be there.
That's true.
This little piece right here looks like this kind of section is curling out, this kind of explosion of this firework here.
But no, that is pretty.
Just the way you look, you have to overlook it. You want to step outside your comfort zone.
Well, and you have to, again, remember, you putting the right color thread on there, too.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Make
the black is just so you can see it.
Okay, so if you weren't going to use a pantograph, because I know you won't be doing a pantograph on this.
I mean, I wouldn't. I could do it, but I love to do Lone Stars custom. They're just fun.
Yeah. What kind of custom would you do? What would it look like?
So if I was looking at this Lone Star, I would definitely be breaking this up into triangles. If you think about a Lone Star, all it really is a bunch of triangles in the way that it's broken up. So if we kind of take our chalk pencil if we're on the quilt, or our marker if we're on our sheet protector, and break this down, all you are is a bunch of triangles here.
Oh, yeah.
That's all this section is a bunch of triangles. Even in here, that's a 60 degree, that's a 60 degree, that's a 60 degree. All these are a bunch of triangles.
Okay.
That's all it's broken up with. Now these, much larger than any throat space will ever accommodate.
Yeah.
So you have to take that into account. But if you want to break it down even further, if we throw a line right in there, trapezoid, triangle.
Okay. You went
Throw
to
a line right
geometry
in there.
class. Good thing.
I did very well in geometry. Thank you.
Not me.
So if we wanted to break this down from a freehand standpoint, I'd open up my Triangle Tango book, and I'd come in here and I'd find some different triangle designs that I'd like to play with and kind of pull off for this Lone Star. So like, let's say if we did this one right here. I know it's not, they're both not in the picture.
That's okay.
But if I was trying to go with something right here, you see how this one kind of has that continuous curve on the outside, then it kind of works its way in and kind of has that curly, frilly piece that we talked about in the fireworks pattern. You could definitely accomplish that more or less the same way into this. But now these are background patterns, so let's look at maybe even this one. I can come in with a little curl here, curl there, come in with some stitch in the ditch maybe if I wanted to work that through, curl, curl. A lot harder with a smaller section here.
Yeah, so but I mean the idea is that you can break it down into triangles and put the different designs in there for sure,
Exactly.
and give it a custom flow out of it. So it's finding that flow.
And you've got so many different ideas on Triangle Tango. I mean, quilts are a lot of triangles in them, honestly.
Yeah.
But looking at how you can honestly break it down is where you're wanting to be in this section. And, you know, these pieces are much larger. So you could do a lot of nice, dense quilting in here because they're such large pieces. They just look small on the paper.
Yeah, exactly. So that's cool. So Triangle Tangle will really help you with that.
Yeah.
Did I thought you said something about clamshells too with that?
No, that's not that one.
Oh, sorry.
That's
See, I'm ahead of the game.
That's pretty soon.
All right. So, okay. So we got that one down. What's our next one?
So the next one we are going to look at is actually, let's go overhead because I already have the picture set up on the screen, so I don't want to give it away right away.
Okay.
But the next one that we were going to be taking a look at is I have a lot of antique quilts. I love antique quilts. But this is an antique Sunbonnet Sioux quilt. And this has a lot of hand applique on it. Beautiful hand applique on this one. And it would be really hard for me to throw a pantograph over this whole thing. Can be done. Nothing wrong with it. But it would be hard because I know how long work that the piecer or the applique are put into this quilt.
Yeah.
So I'd want to keep it with the time frame of this being an antique Sunbonnet Sioux. And I would come in here and do crosshatching over the whole thing.
Yeah, I could see that.
Crosshatching over the whole thing would be stunning.
Yeah.
And so if I go to the computer and I take a look at what I have set up, it is already pulled up that way. But look at that. Isn't that gorgeous?
Yeah, the crosshatching definitely would be the way to go on that one, especially with the time frame like you're talking about.
The time frame.
And so crosshatching would probably work, let's say, on quite a few quilts.
Crosshatching
back in the time, or
the time frame of crosshatching will go with that. We're starting to see a lot of crosshatching come back on trend. But on those earlier time periods of fabric, crosshatching was that good old design to like go with. Everyone loved to do it, and it was gorgeous.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It gives it dimension. It like I don't know. That looks really good on there.
Looks really nice on it.
Yeah.
I would do we haven't really talked about thread. I would do a lighter weight of thread when you're doing that, especially when you're working through applique.
Yeah.
Because you don't want that thread to overtake the applique because you're stitching straight through it with that crosshatch.
So what do you think? So since you brought that up, what kind of thread would you use?
If it were me, I'd do a sew fine or I would do a glide 60.
Okay.
Depending on what you like.
Got it. Okay.
But a sew fine or a glide 60 would be really nice.
Yeah, thinner to get there.
A little thinner.
Okay.
To stay with the time period of the fabric, I would probably do a sew fine because it has a faux cotton look.
Yeah, because glide's
a little shiny, so it's a little off of the time period. But depending on what your machine likes, if each machine has their own personality,
that they do.
That would be that. So let's look at custom side of things.
All right, so custom side of things.
So let's grab that Sunbonnet Sioux again. We're back overhead. And what we would do here is go ahead and look at doing this with the backgrounds book.
Okay.
Because Sunbonnet Sioux and appliques, all they are is a bunch of background work. That's really what you're looking at, bunch of background work. So let's say maybe in here in these border or sashing sections right here, I could come in with the straight lines book. Actually, totally went right over that. Could have come in with the straight lines book. If I was doing this custom, I would be doing stitch in the ditch around each of these Sunbonnet Sue appliques. Lock them down. Be very careful if it's hand applique work. Definitely want to watch out on that. But I would definitely do stitch in the ditch around there. I would also be doing stitch in the ditch between the outer corners of these blocks here. Doing stitch in the ditch just like that to really lock that down.
Yeah, no, that would be a good idea.
Because that's the first thing you want to do before you start doing a ton of custom work is your stitch in the ditch.
So you stitch and ditch, you locked it down. So what are the designs that you would put in, you think, in the... Because that would be more the background fill now, right?
Correct. Well, I'd first start out with either, if it were me, I would do the backgrounds first after I did stitch in the ditch before I do the sashings.
Okay.
So I could come in with my backgrounds design book and come through and say, okay, which one of these would work really well for this quilt? Which one do I really, really like? Or is it something I want to pull out of my own mind? I like this one. This kind of peacock meandering.
That or just, I was thinking just like little tiny stippling.
A little stippling would work too. Yeah. Either one. So you could do some type of, dense peacock meandering here. Like I said, a little harder to do on this tiny paper and picture as opposed to on the full-size quilt. But you could come in and do those little things. If you wanted to do just a stipple, the biggest thing with stipple is no points and don't get yourself into a pattern. And don't cross over anything.
And so we had, a good question. When you do the cross hatching, would you do cross hatching over the applique?
Yes.
And I think when you're doing that overall pattern, yeah, you would. That's why he was saying use the thinner thread on that.
Definitely.
So.
But nothing. I mean, you could stop at each applique. It would just take you a lot longer.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as you're sticking with that thinner thread, you could go right through the applique, and it would look stunning. Still, trust me, it really would have done it before. And then once I did the background of that Sunbonnet Sue, or the ones that fit in my throat space, I'd bust open my straight lines book and I'd find something that really spoke to me. Maybe like these little loop-de-doos here, more or less. I could take one of these loop-de-doos and starting here, let's say in the center of this section, come up with a loop, come down with a loop. Your loops are going to be in the blue.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
But just doing something more or less, fell through that, like that, just like so. And then if you want to go back and kind of go the different way, you could take care of that all the way through.
Yeah.
Cornerstones, these are 9 patches. That's what these cornerstones are built out of.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
So you could bust open your 9-patch book, or you could just do some simple continuous curve in that, just to keep the cornerstone very simple.
Yeah. Okay.
Like that.
Pretty cool. All right, so what is the next quilt that we have on the docket?
We have more.
We have a couple more.
We do. The next one that I'm going to do look at is this double wedding ring.
Okay.
This was another gift to me from a student that I went down to teach in South Texas. She has a thing for double wedding rings, just like I do, and had this one prepared for me whenever I got there so I could take it home and quilt it. So I'm super excited to be able to get to do that. So with this one, double wedding rings have a lot of curve. Okay, that's really what they're made for.
Yeah.
A lot of curve, a lot of arcs in them. And a lot of people have a hard time determining what pattern they want to put over this if they are going to do an edge-to-edge and not do it custom.
Mm-hmm.
My look and my philosophy and thought on this one would be to give it a little bit of movement with straight interlocking lines.
Oh, okay.
Okay, normally we talk about with straight piecing, we do curvy quilting.
Okay.
Well, now we have curvy piecing, so now we need to do some straight quilting.
Okay.
So I'm going to take this pattern right over here, and this is another pattern of Linda's.
This one is called Interlocking Lines Random. It's pattern 266.
Love this one. I've done this one before. It takes a little bit of time, but it's stunning.
Well, and you can always make it wider,
Oh,
too.
yes, of course. But look at the movement that gives it. And that totally takes up a traditional quilt. I'm zooming in. I see your hands.
Okay, now I get it.
Okay, from a distance it looks a little strange.
Yeah.
But that definitely takes up our traditional quilt, gives it a little bit of movement, and those double wedding rings kind of breaks up a lot of that straight line piecing.
Yeah.
And then the person that you're giving this to, or if you're keeping it for yourself, if you get tired, which I don't think you would, but if you get tired of looking at the front, flip it over, you've got a beautiful, very modern edge-to-edge quilt on the back.
There you go.
Because it's just interlocking lines.
Just that's a good one idea. So let's see what else you have.
Okay, that one hurt my feelings.
No, that's good. I'm just thinking more tradition. So if we have people that like more tradition on a double wedding ring, I know you have stuff you're going to show. But
Well, these are both,
that is pretty.
Both of my edge to edge ones are definitely going to be modern designs.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to go with something a little bit more traditional, let me grab we talked about Simple Feather, Meandering. We talked about, whatever another one that you talked about that you liked. You liked this fancy one, didn't you? Fancy Fun. You put me on the spot. This was not what's planned.
We'll just throw more of a traditional one on there, and then we'll go back to your other edge to edge.
Oh, it's tiny because the picture was so small.
So there's don't worry about it. So there's lots of different traditional edge to edges you can put on there.
Open that up a little bit more. Oh, well, I lost it.
All right, so what's
Sorry.
the other edge to edge?
So this one is actually one that I was going to do straight by hand. So this is actually a freehand one. You're using it just with your channel locks. Okay.
Oh.
This one's going to take some time. It's going to be a grid work on this double wedding ring. Like I said, I'm modernizing this one. I'm not keeping it as traditional with the time frame. So this one is going to be more of a grid work line. Breaking it down, Diana's not impressed.
No, I can see it. I can see what you're doing here, especially if you use a lighter thread.
Yes, black thread on this does not
I
look
know.
great.
No, it basically you know what it's doing is it's really making that piecing stand
You're
out.
really seeing the piecing, not so much the actual quilting.
Exactly.
And so with double wedding ring, there's a lot of work that goes into that piecing.
Yeah.
So just to really see the piecing shine and see
Yeah.
some nice quilting behind it is really cool.
No, I totally get it. When you first, I mean, if I'm the viewer looking at it right now, I'll be like, I'm not sure about that maybe. But I can see it. Now I can see it. Now I
Right.
can visualize it.
You got to change the thread
I
color in
know,
your
change
head.
the thread
Change
color in
the
my
thread
head.
color. The nice pale yellow on that.
Yeah.
Stunning.
That'll be really pretty. Okay.
And so how I accomplished that is taking that machine, and I'm going to use a crosshatch circle, and they come in a set of, I don't even know, a set of 5, I think, 6.
6 or 5.
5 or
something.
6, bunch of different sizes,
Yeah.
depending on how big of size you want. But this, depending on the brand of machine you have, will clip onto the foot of your machine, and this is basically used as a spacer.
Yep.
So I started with my horizontal channel lock on, and just did a straight horizontal line from left to right.
Okay.
Had my little spacer on, jumped down to where the top of this crosshatch was now on the top of that line.
Got it. So let's
And-
visualize it down here.
Okay. So if I did a straight line, oh, you're going to make me draw a straight line on camera. That's a great idea.
That's
Not bad.
straight enough.
Not bad. So I stitched that straight line, jumped down, and then put my crosshatch right at the top of that line.
Okay.
Now, of course, my machine's right here.
Uh-huh.
And so let's do that. So then it would go
Yeah, so that's
that.
perfect. Yeah.
and I'd have my spacing. So those would be my lines all the way down the quilt.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's a great idea.
And then to get my grid work, I would actually unpin the quilt and turn it.
Okay.
Pin the quilt back on, come in
Mhm.
with my crosshatch circle, start my top one, put my circle on.
Perfect.
Oh,
Okay. Oh,
gosh.
now you're getting all over.
Ah! Sorry, I'll pay for it. But then you get to have that grid work
Yeah.
all the way through
Yeah.
that quilt.
So that's
and it's
cool.
super
So the
fast.
crosshatch circles were originally made and designed for the Gamel, but we've
Mhm.
had a lot of other brands that have had no issue using them. Sometimes you just have to put a little masking tape on the inside, so you have to be willing to adapt it if you have a different machine, because it will still work. So put a little piece of masking tape on there, because you want it to be solid on that foot. So as it's hopping, or if you take the hop out, it's up to you. It's going to stay on that foot the whole time.
Right.
That's what's important.
Because you needed to be sturdy on the foot.
Sturdy on the foot.
Yep.
Or if you got some and they would not go on at all, then you can actually take a little file. So again, you have to be willing to adapt it. But if you have never used these and you can, there's so
They're
many
fun.
different things. We're going to have a whole nother video on just these. Okay.
Crosshatching's fun. Or the circles are fun. Crosshatching's fun too, but the circles are fun.
All right. So what are some freehand designs you would put in there?
Oh, I totally.
Yeah, we forgot about that because
Totally
we started
went
talking
off
about crosshatch.
track on that one.
Let's do some. What were some freehand designs that you had?
So if I were coming in here with freehand, I would look at this as a basic 8. Okay. So what I mean by basic 8 is there is a basic 8 book, and it has a stencil that cuts out into multiple different pieces. And I believe it's right over there on the cart. If
Oh.
you want to grab, I totally forgot to bring it over here.
I will go grab it.
Thank you. And so what that's going to do is lay right on top of this, and you could do pounce powder on top of that. Thank you so much. But you can see that this hits every single one of those corners of this double wedding ring. Also gives me the nice center point of this. Okay.
Yeah.
So I could pounce powder onto that, and I have now a nice set of guidelines, more or less, to follow.
Mm-hmm.
And then I could crack open my Basic 8 book and find exactly what design I would like to throw in that section, depending on whatever I wanted to do. Maybe something simple. We'll go with something like that, even though I don't really have markings, so this is going to be fun. I'll kind of
just pretend your markings.
print out my
Can't
markings
quite
here.
pounce chalk on plastic.
But it's fine.
But that's good though, because it gives them the idea of what the pounce
so
would
that's
look
kind of
like.
what that pounce would look like. And then all I would have to do is come in, and with my machine, then I could begin the stitching process all the way through here, there. And the thing about this one is you get to take it a little further into those corners.
Yeah.
So you're taking it in and going in to those little sections.
The Basic 8 can you just
There's so many things
that's like
you
that
can do
I
a
have
Basic
to
8 for.
have on hand.
That's like, I mean, even as a computerized quilter myself, I have a Basic 8 all the time next to me.
Yeah.
Because it's just
This
so many
helps.
things you can do.
That's really cool. So that brings a little bit more traditional to it.
Yes,
So
definitely.
if you want to do that little custom. Now, what would you do inside here?
If I was doing something inside of this, I could break it down into multiple different sections if I wanted to. Along these curves right here, I'd be looking at clamshells.
Okay.
Just kind of, I don't know why, but I see this whole thing right here is a clamshell to me. Or this whole thing right here. Sorry, I always look to the side when I'm drawing, but y'all are looking at it like this. All I see is a clamshell right here, this whole section.
Yeah.
So I could come in and find something that works with this, coming with my clamshell book, something, I don't know, pick anything, we'll go with these hearts.
Okay.
But I could come in just like this and work around this curve of this clamshell to me. And like I said, I don't know why I see a clamshell, I just do. But I could take this, come up, and then drop down with my little heart, and then working easily around this section as I come in and do these hearts in this tiny little section on camera. But I could easily do something just like this as I'm working around this section. All the way through there. And then you could split this up, do something different in here. If you want to split this up even with a Basic 8, you could. And do just a little, whatever you'd like to in those little orange peel sections.
Fun, fun, fun. All right. We're getting closer to getting done, so thanks for sticking with us. We just wanted to be able to kind of give you ideas on everything. Okay, what's our next one?
All right, next one is, it's still very popular to this day.
Yeah,
still very popular to this day. We're going to look at Dream Big, so looking at panels that it's kind of hard to know what to do in them if you don't want to do straight custom on each of those little petals. So one of the first patterns that I've done, and I've actually done this one for a quilt for my aunt, and this is on a Dream Big. That's all it was, just a bunch of Dream Bigs pieced together. And so I actually went with this pattern, and it is the name of...
It's called Hearts and Feathers, and it's pattern 235 from Linda Taylor. Again, all Linda's patterns are available freehand, pantograph, and edge-to-edge.
Yep. So this one worked really well after it was quilted. I know it's hard to tell on here, but when I took it off the frame, I started looking at it. It looked like each one of these sections were actually specifically designed for each of these petals.
Yeah, it turned
the
out
way
really good.
you remember seeing it.
Yeah,
it looked stunning. Once it was quilted up in the right color of thread, it ended up looking really, really nice. Something to soften. You could still see the beautiful dahlia flower behind it, but it was just nice to have as a fun little feathery heart pattern on there. And people have used it since after my recommendation of it, and they said it's worked out beautifully for them.
Fun. All right. So what's another pattern?
So this next one, you actually chose this one. So you want to talk about it?
Well, so this one is Curly Feather. It's actually one of Linda's earlier patterns, number 59. So it's been around for a while. But I just looked at it and thought it would be like perfect on there, because it has the curves and the swirls and straight. So it gives you some straight line edges plus a little bit of curls to it. So and it offsets really pretty.
And I think whenever we put it on there, I thought it was really pretty as well.
Yeah.
So tiny little pops of flowers over this full flower. Of course, it's not a real flower on the quilting design, so it doesn't clash with the background.
Exactly.
But the feathers mimic the flower, so they work very well together, kind of in harmony. They kind of complement each other there.
That's fun. And then we actually had one that is only available in Pantograph, but it's we love this pattern. So I'm going to bring it out over here. Corey's grandma, my mom, actually designed it. It's her only pattern she's designed for us so far, but it was so pretty. Here, you can open it up. And
Yeah.
there wasn't a way for us to have this on the computer
Yeah, because it's not offered as a computerized design yet. But this one is called Hearts and Flowers.
It's called Flowers and Hearts. It's pattern 1400.
Yeah. So this one is a really pretty pattern that you stitch all the way kind of around this, and then you come back, and it's kind of a back and forth thing. But that would be really pretty over a Dream Big as well.
Yeah, I thought that would be really pretty because of the flowers.
I wish I had the digital one to show you, but it would look really cute on it as well.
Yeah, and we can bring it up here and show the offset of it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it would be pretty on Dream Big, but it'd be pretty on a lot of a lot of different quilts too, because of the flowing with it, the hearts and the flowers, but yet then the little simple beads and stuff in there too. So shout out to Mom on this pattern. I really like this one. So, okay, so do you have some freehand ideas?
When it comes to freehand on this, honestly, you'd have to go straight custom with it.
Yeah.
Either on a long arm or on your domestic machine. Things like this are a little bit more fun to do on a domestic machine because it's a smaller section to work with. But I would be doing stitch in the ditch around these petals if it were myself. Diana, I don't know about you, but...
I would just let you do it for me.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
But I would definitely be doing stitch in the ditch around these petals as I'm working. If I'm on a long arm, I would go ahead and do what's in my quiltable space and then work. If I'm on a domestic machine, I would probably stitch in the ditch all of these before I got into it and really started working with it. But then I would take, and again, I'm telling you, backgrounds, designs, and shapes sketchbook, one of my favorites. I love these sketchbooks for freehand work.
Well, you have so many good ideas.
So many ideas. But background designs, and I would pull just a random design. I would let the first one you stopped on, pull it.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're going to put, oh gosh, y'all going to make, what do I, no, okay.
I
picked it.
did, yeah.
So I come in with this little bit of this curve, hop over, and then it's like a feathery thing that hops over itself, and then stitches through, and then another curve. And I would just work. I'd finish that whole section out. Yeah. I'd flip the book random. Da-da-da-da. It's like The Price is Right. Slap. Okay, that's my next one. Coming in here and doing these jagged random lines. Just like that.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Next one and the next one. Da-da-da-da. That one. Okay, now this one's hearts. Loops. And then a heart.
So you could kind of concatenate it where you could just do different patterns all the way around, but they're kind of matching, or you can just do random stuff. There's just so much you can do.
You can do random all the way throughout, or you can keep something that looks kind of like a round robin where it works together in a circle all the way out, and you know, as you work around, they change, or however you want to do it.
And then for like on the Dream Big, so there's so many different designers out there that have customized patterns.
Right behind us.
Oh, yeah.
Our cameraman keeps pointing back here saying, y'all are standing right in front of one.
Oh, my gosh. I totally forgot
we hung this up.
Yeah, so you can think there's designers out there that have the whole thing already designed for you.
If you're computerized.
Yeah. Or we also have the tearaway ones.
I would even bring those up here.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, so there is tearaway patterns that you can you lay over these panels.
Yeah.
And you can kind of do like a spray on them just to kind of keep them in place.
So you can use it on a domestic or a long arm.
Right, and we've done a video on that.
We have.
And you can stitch right through the paper, and then it just tears away, and you can come up with some really cool designs just like this.
Exactly.
I totally forgot we were standing in front of one.
We're so in depth. Okay, last pattern. We've kept them long enough. It's almost 8 o'clock.
This one's going to look a little familiar to you.
Oh, yes, my fun little ABC panel.
So from a couple of weeks ago, for those of you that have been following us, Diana pieced together her very first quilt.
Oh, my goodness.
Her very first panel
quilt. Very first panel quilt.
One day y'all see her very first quilt. It's cute. We have it around here somewhere.
Yeah.
It's cute. I like it. And so what that is going to do was that little ABC panel that you put together.
Yeah, we call it the ABC Super Panel. Got a lot of them in stock because people asked for them, so we have them back in stock for you.
We do. So what I did here was I brought together how I actually quilted it, which was just the puzzle pattern from Linda. So what's the name of that one?
That one is called Puzzle.
Oh, well, that one was hard.
Number 127, Puzzle.
And so this one is the exact pattern that I used over this, and I didn't trim off the sides, so forgive me for that.
That's okay.
But it was just the offset of that puzzle, and then they looked like little puzzle pieces. how kids put the pieces together as they're growing up and learning. So you have puzzle pieces over
And
it.
I think what color did I use? Didn't I use like a little gray or light?
I used
like
a
light,
cool gray 3
the
from
cool gray
Glide.
3, yeah. That turned out really pretty on there.
Yeah, that one was cute.
So
so super simple on that one. Kind of this is a fast pattern to stitch the way it's designed.
yeah, it was super fast.
So that one was super fast.
And
to
you can
stitch.
put the panel on sideways because this was
get it done even faster.
You can get it done even faster.
Yeah, you put it on sideways and run sideways.
So if you use patterns that are like this, you could throw the quilts on sideways and knock them out faster, freehand or computerized.
Correct.
Right? I mean,
because
pantograph or
if you're working with a pattern that's non-directional, like this, you could definitely, it doesn't matter how you load the quilt, sideways, left, up, right, side down. That was a totally different way of saying that. But you could load that pattern either which way and get it whatever look you want.
All right. So then we decided we picked something a little bit more frilly.
A little bit more frilly. So this is one of Linda's earlier ones too, wasn't it?
In fact, it's called Baby Curls number
Baby
96.
Curls.
It was very early on a beginner pattern because it was so easy to follow with the big curls. It's just like you're moving your machine, which you
Really
still
good.
would be able to.
Really good flow on this one
Yeah.
too. Now, don't imagine black thread over it.
Yeah, I know,
That's,
right?
that's the hard part there. Imagine a nice cool gray or an ash gray even.
Yeah.
But nice movement on this one. If you wanted a different design as opposed to puzzle pieces, you could definitely get that amazing design out of that.
Yeah. So that gives you. So this gives you some really good ideas on if you have panels.
I want to start quilting.
I know, right? If you have panels and like different things that you can throw on a panel. So we wanted to give you some nature. We wanted to give you some baby. We wanted to give you, some more old school stuff like some of the double wedding, the Sunbonnet Sues, to give you an idea of different things that you want to do end and very flat. So we all have different quilt tops out there. And if you have enjoyed us doing this, we want to do it again. So like if you really like to give us some ideas, we do.
We do.
But we want you to send us some pictures of quilt tops.
We do. We definitely want to do it again. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was fun design inspiration. I love being creative and doing this kind of stuff. This was fun for me.
Yeah. So we're hoping to do this like once a quarter, get some quilt top pictures in, and help you guys design them for you if you don't mind, if you want to do that with us.
So before we leave, we talked about at the beginning. It's been a while. We forgot. We've taken down a quilting journey. But we did talk about some giveaways. Was that right?
Oh, we did. We got so invested in what we were doing, we totally forgot about
Y'all
that.
know what was happening. She was like, "Oh, maybe he won't remember."
No, I would not.
It was your
say
idea,
that.
actually.
Thank you.
It was your idea. I know you wouldn't
Wait,
forget.
say that one more time. Give me
no,
credit.
No. They can replay the video. I don't have to say it again.
Thanks for the credit. He always.
It was
very
your
seldom.
idea.
Thank you, guys. I was right.
Oh,
Okay.
Whoa, you were right.
Anyway.
Okay.
So we have a giveaway for you guys. Okay, so we are going to be giving away 5 patterns, and they'll either be computerized or digital.
One per individual.
Or I can't even talk. Pantograph based on what you have. So Corey, why don't you tell them how they can enter?
Right.
And it's only for 72 hours. So we're live right now. It's Thursday, 8 o'clock Central Standard Time. It'll last for 72 hours, and then
it'll be Sunday at 11:59 is when the cut is.
Oh, Sunday at 11:59.
11:59 Central Standard Time is when it cuts.
It will be over. Okay.
But either on your phone or on your computer, you can scroll beneath the video, and there will be a description. On the computer, it's a little easier to see. If you're on a phone, right next to the title of the video, somewhere in that little area, there is a drop-down caret arrow.
Yeah.
You can tap on that, and that'll show you the description of the video. In that description, there is a enter in to win form.
Yes.
And you'll click on that link and you'll be taken to the after hours forum and you'll fill out the information provided. And that will give you your entry into the giveaway.
Yep.
And like Diana said, we're going to be giving away patterns to 5 lucky individuals.
Yes.
It's all drawn at random.
Yep.
But this week we're looking at patterns. So there is a question in that form that says, are you a hand-guided quilter or a computerized quilter? So make sure you select that one.
Yep. So if you win, we know what to send you.
Yeah, so we know so we don't send you a paper pattern and you're a computerized quilter or vice versa.
Exactly. So fun.
So definitely check out that description before Sunday at 11:59 Central Standard Time. Don't know what the date is of that, but we should have looked that one up. But go ahead and get your entries in now so we can get some stuff sent out to you. Yeah. Because I would love to send stuff. I love sending free things.
Yeah, and like you said at the beginning, we're going to try to start doing this again with every video. We're going to find things to give to you guys. So it's if you can't be live, at least try to watch it within the first 72 hours to be able to get that.
Definitely.
So, all righty.
Okay.
That was fun.
That was fun. I had a good time.
Yes, and I'm so glad. Thanks for interacting with us. We appreciate it.
Yes.
Hopefully, if we didn't get to answer your question, we'll go back and we'll answer questions later.
Definitely.
And always, you can put them in afterwards. We check them all the time.
Definitely, we do.
Alrighty.
Have a lot of fun.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. We had a great time, and we will see you next week here live at After Hours.
Bye.
Bye.